Welcome to momedaram. In this video, we will see the difference between checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions in Java. This is one of the most common interview question in Java. Checked exceptions. The exceptions which are checked by the compiler for smooth execution of the program at runtime are called checked exceptions. That means compiler will check for the exceptions at the time of compilation. That kind of exceptions we can say as checked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions. The exceptions which are not checked by the compiler are called unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions. These exceptions are must be handled properly by using either try catch blocks or using throw clause. If we are not handled these checked exceptions, compiler will give error. These unchecked exceptions, if you are not handle these unchecked exceptions properly, compiler will not throw any error, but we will get error at runtime. In this example, if you see, we are using file input stream object is equals to new file input stream of the file. So when you use file input stream class, it is saying unhandled exception. That means this file input stream may give file not found exception. So we have to handle this exception, like that it is saying. These kind of exceptions we can say as checked exceptions. So how we can handle this exception means by using either try catch block or throws keyword. If you see here, we have handled this exception using throws keyword. So we are throwing that file not found exception. When you throw this exception, it is not giving any error. So checked exceptions are checked by the compiler and we have to handle that exceptions. Unchecked exceptions. If you see in this example, we have division method, int a and int b it is taking. When you are doing a division operation, here it is not checking any exceptions. So when you run this program, it will give error in the line number 12. It will give error saying that arithmetic exception divided by 0 error it will give. So the exceptions which are not checked by the compiler are known as unchecked exceptions. Checked exceptions. All the subclasses of java.lang.exception are checked exceptions except subclasses of java.lang.runtime exceptions. That means java.lang.exception class has lot of subclasses in that except runtime exception. All other exceptions we can say as checked exceptions, that are file not found exception, IO exception, SQL exception, class not found exception, interrupted exception and parse exception. These exceptions are we can say as checked exceptions. File not found exception. So as we have seen in the earlier example, when we are performing file operations, that time we have to handle this exception. IO exception. IO exception is a super exception of this file not found exception. When you are performing input output operations, that time we have to handle this IO exception. SQL exception. When you are working with SQL related statements, that time we will get this SQL exception. So we have to handle that exceptions. Class not found exception. When you use class.forName method, that time we have to handle this class not found exception. Interrupted exception. So in Java, threading concept are there. Some threads are sleeping state will be there. When you interrupt that threads, that time we will get interrupted exception. Parse exceptions. When you do parsing operations, that time we have to handle this parse exceptions. So these exceptions are needs to be handled. So these kind of exceptions we can say checked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions are all the subclasses of java.lang.runtime exceptions are unchecked exceptions. Examples of these unchecked exceptions are null pointer exception, arithmetic exception, class cast exception, array index out of bounds exception, and illegal argument exception. These kind of exceptions we can say as unchecked exceptions. This null pointer exception. Null pointer exception means when an object has null reference, and when you are performing in that object, that time you will get null pointer exception. Arithmetic exception. When you are performing any arithmetic related operations like divided by 0, that kind of scenarios we will get arithmetic exceptions. So class cast exception. When you are converting one class to another class, in that type of situations we will get class cast exception. Array index out of bounds exception. When an array has 5 elements and when you are trying to access sixth element, or when you are trying to access a negative index, that types of situations we will get array index out of bounds exceptions. Illegal argument exception. When you try to access a method by passing illegal type of argument, that time we will get this illegal argument exceptions. These exceptions are come at a runtime. Compiler won't know when this kind of exceptions will come, so these exceptions are called as unchecked exceptions. These are all the main differences between checked and unchecked exceptions in Java. Hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching.